Hello, everyone. Good evening. I'm happy to be here. My name is Publio. I'm gonna sing a couple of songs to prepare our place, our heart, our soul. So I hope you enjoy, find a special place to stay, to hear, and appreciate our meeting. Song to Mother Zephyrina. Source of love that radiates, warming up our cold night, support and comfort, support and comfort, cascades from down the mountain, calling the children of earth with love in their hearts, with love in their hearts. My soul never loses hope, because your love always teaches me the solution lies in hard work. The solution lies in hard work. Oh, my mother Zephyrina, harvest of wonderful blessings, make you small son a good Christian, make you small son a good Christian. It's very important to us to be in the same symphony. So I'm gonna call vibrate. When life lends a hand, it's time to open up your heart. It is time to love one another. It's time to take part. Vibrate always, loving and serving everyone. Vibrate always, loving and serving everyone. When we give our heart in charity, our lives are transforming into songs. Our dreams become reality, and we join Jesus for eternity. Vibrate always, loving and serving everyone. Vibrate always, loving and serving everyone. When we give our heart and charity, our lives are transforming into songs. Our dreams become reality, and we join Jesus for eternity. I'm gonna sing now Good Old Man. Blue crystal eyes, color of the sky, gray bushy beard, Santas look alike. Shine on your brothers on earth, suffering, living joy, or in pain. Blue crystal eyes, color of the sky. Gray bushy beard, Santas look alike. Shine on your brothers on earth, suffering, living joy, or in pain. Bezerra de Menezes, Apostle of the good, receive our prayers and also our heart. Bezerra de Menezes, Apostle of the light, place our pain at the feet of Jesus Christ. Now I'm going to sing a song called Calm Me Down. If I close my eyes to pray, I hear the sound of the sea far away. If I close my eyes to pray, Jesus gathers me in his arms I sway. Body harmonize, a well-done hay. Music lifts his spirits in sweet ballet. Nature's love, a constant giveaway. In joy, in peace, my heart finds the way. If I close my eyes to pray, Jesus gathers me in his arms I sway. If I close my eyes to pray, Jesus gathers me in his arms I sway.
Follow your path, Father. Another flower, another minute past the hour. Someday the sky is blue, and suddenly we can't see through. And every day is a fresh new start. When the sun turns off the moonlight, we get another chance to choose the road we want to cruise. And on the other side of the mountain, there's always a whole new road. The new beginning calling after every end. There are a million reasons to pick you up after every fall. It's always a win in the new round. On the other side of the mountain, there's always a whole new road. And the new beginning calling after every end. And there are a million reasons to pick you up after every fall. It's always a win. It's always a win in the new round. It's always a win in the new round. It's always a win in the new round.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our public meeting. We thank everyone for joining us tonight. And before we start, we would like to share a couple of announcements. We ask you to turn off your phone notifications and find a quiet place if possible. Our meeting will have a 30-minute presentation followed by the Q&A. Then, after the presentation, we will have a spiritual treatment with passes and magnetized water. So we invite you to set aside a container with water to be magnetized. We would like to announce that our meeting is being retransmitted today by Continental Concafos Americas through their Facebook, and will also be retransmitted every Wednesday at 8 p.m. East by Kardec Radio through their Facebook and YouTube. And now we have a special invitation for those who want to learn more about Spiritism. Get to Know Spiritism is a free and online course that happens every Saturday at 5:15 p.m. East. A new class will be starting on the fall, so more information will be given soon. Stay tuned. Do you know that we offer virtual live gospel at home? The Gospel at Home is an effective support for you and your family's spiritual harmony. We will motivate and guide you in establishing and maintaining the Gospel at Home study meetings. By posting in the chat, you can request it. So please let us know. You are also welcome to include your or someone else's names on the list for positive vibrations. incarnate or discarnate. The person you indicate will be assisted by good spirits to provide healing, energy, and strengthen goodwill. Please find the link on the chat. In today's topic, it's a special meeting today, actually, and we will be talking about family, which will be facilitated by our sister, Anna Oliveira, from Alabama, USA. Everyone is welcome to write comments and questions in the chat, and we will be addressing those questions at the end of the talk. And now we would like to invite tonight's speaker, who will also be doing our opening prayer. Welcome, Anna.
Hello, good evening, Larissa.
Good evening. Thank you for being here. We are very excited to hear from you on this topic.
No problem. It's always a pleasure. It's always a happy night when I'm here together with you. Although every Tuesday I'm together with you guys, but today
in the other side of the screen,
on the
right?
other side of the screen today.
Okay, so see you in the end. Okay.
Okay. So good evening, my brothers and sisters. Welcome to our public talk of today. So, like Larissa said, today we'll talk about family. But before we do, let's go ahead and have our opening prayer. So let's take a deep breath, knowing where we are, but at the same time, letting go of the worries of the day, entering this state of relaxation, opening our hearts, our minds, preparing ourselves to enjoy this time together in which we set aside every week to nourish our souls. Let's think of our Master Jesus, seeking his presence, thinking of his image in our heads, and thanking him for this opportunity, asking Jesus and all the high spirits that bless every single family on this earth, that protect our own families, that give strength to parents to raise their children, that help children go in wisdom, in strength, and faith, so that we can not just grow as individual families, but as a society, that it's actually the ultimate family, the family of children of God. Jesus is stay with us and help us have the faith, the wisdom, and the courage so that we can lead our families and we can help with the betterment of society. Glory be to God, and so be it. All right. So we will talk about family. Let me see if I can. Oh, there you go. Thank you. So, for this talk about family, I'm using some information from this book called Family Constellation by Divaldo Franco, the medium, and the spirit Joanna de Angelis, the Spiritist book by Kardec, right? And this book called The Studying Mediumship by Martins Peralva. So around 1 year ago, I was here, and it was around Valentine's. So we talked a little bit about family. So Valentine's was just a few days ago. So here I am today, and we'll talk about family again. So let's talk about family. And again, what do we want? I think if I had to summarize what I want for us to meditate on, it's really the importance of family for our betterment, but also for the betterment of society. So we'll talk a little bit about, in the Spiritist view, how the families are formed, you know, and of course it's important and it's beautiful, the family, but sometimes I think the most important thing is not going to be so naive. So we're going to go to the question that is like, really, maybe why it's difficult, right, to live in harmony in family. Sometimes I think we all have some kind of experience, in this area. So we'll talk about that. And Spiritism, uh, how can we learn from Spiritism that can help us have a more positive attitude and a more hopeful position within our families? So, to start with, we are going to start with this question 775 from the Spiritist book. So, Kardec asked the high spirits, what would be the effect on society if family ties were relaxed? And the spirits responded, it would lapse into selfishness. So society would lapse into selfishness, right? So then we can see how family is important, you know, not just, right, for the members of the family, of the immediate family group, but also for society as a whole. And we are social beings, right? It's important to live in society. So that's there goes the link from one to the other, right? In the question 767, Kardec asked the spirits, is absolute isolation contrary to the law of nature? And the spirit said yes, because people instinctively seek societal living, and because all of them must cooperate in humankind's progress by mutually helping one another. So, some days I'm sure we all think, oh my gosh, can I just go into a little cave and be by myself and, do what I have to do, but here in isolation, right? Yeah, sometimes we really need a little moment, but in in essence, right, we are social beings, and God created us to live, together, helping one another, right, cooperating, not to be isolated, right, and that goes especially for us Christians, right? The Christians have to be in the world where other people are, right? It's so easy sometimes to be nice. I tell you, I'm the best person in the world if I'm all by myself, right? Nobody really um, complains about anything. Nobody, I do everything. I don't fight with anybody, yes, because I'm all by myself, right? But the moment that we have to share experience with somebody else, that's when, right, the challenges come, but they don't come for a bad reason, right? They come really to help us with our evolution. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. So, and because family is so important, so we I brought some questions from the Spirit's book, but I wanted also to mention the Gospel according to Spiritism that we already talked about here on Tuesdays, especially the chapter 14, item 8, where we know that there are two kinds of families, right? So we have families through spiritual ties and families through bodily ties, right? So some of the families are formed, right, in groups, like here, in the family, the father, what we call bodily ties is because there's no other relationship between those two spirits than just this genetic, punctual relationship in this incarnation. But there's also spiritual families, right? Families that extend your so-called family. Because if we lived many lives, right? So maybe, or not maybe, but if we have many lives, then now I'm a mother, but I could have been the granddaughter of my mother, or my daughter could have been my cousin or my aunt, right? So all of this to say that family is important, but we are grouped in these small groups as families so that we can become a larger family, right? Um, so in this book, Family Constellation, so Joanna tells us that the human being is structurally built to live in a family. In order to develop the sublime psychic contents that lie dormant, waiting for the stimuli of the home to release them and sublimate themselves. So, really, when we have a new life in a family, a child, and it's growing, that is structure of the family is what, helps, right, to nurture some of the virtues that we can see sometimes in early age, and also to polish some of the vices that sometimes we can see, right? Um, Maybe a difficulty in having patience, or a difficulty in sharing, right, with friends or with brothers and sisters. All of those things can be really worked in the family structure, in the family environment, that should be surrounded by love and by respect and protection, right? So Joanna reminds us that the family is the fundamental basis on which the immense edifice of society is built. In the small domestic group, the experience of universal brotherhood begins, rehearsing the steps of the noble commitments in favor of the construction of a balanced society. Because of this, every time the family becomes weak or weakened, then society experiences conflicts, shaking in its structures. So we all know that, in family, really, it's where we start, maybe even with our brothers and sisters, with, our parents. We start to learn some negotiation, right? Skills. Sometimes we have to advocate for ourselves. Sometimes is where we ask for help. Sometimes is where we need to learn how to compromise, right, on certain things. But all of these things that we learn how to have a relationship with our brothers, that sharing first, maybe, a room or a house or the attention of the parents. This will be later expanded, to our work, right? To all the other things that we do in society, but also in our own family that will, have later on, that we will build later on, right? So that's why, if can you believe if each family was harmonious on earth, right? If every single family lived in harmony, then probably there will be no other, problems. If we sometimes we forgot, and as we see sometimes countries in wars and things like that, but sometimes we don't remember that it's hard for us to work in small groups. Sometimes we cannot make peace even within one family, within like a company, or within a city. So how can we expect that maybe different nations, right, there will be that kind of respect or cooperation? So it always starts, like we always say, that all the changes in the world, it starts from within ourselves, right? So we should be focusing on ourselves and changing ourselves, and that way is how we're going to see the whole humanity transformed. It's the same way for society, right? So if we work on the family, if we invest time there, if we invest our efforts, everybody has a different role in the family, but every single role is important. Then if we strengthen our families, then we can strengthen the society too, right? It's really, the you rehearsing, you try the waters, right, in the family. You try, who did not ever pushed your parent a little bit more, right? You're like, okay, let me push a little bit, or see what are the limits, right? As a child, I think we all do that. And that's what it's happening there. You testing the boundaries, you testing the waters, you see how much can you get away with, right? And these behaviors, right, if not corrected or instructed and really dealt with, then there will be, the same behaviors will carry from outside, right, our house to our home into society. So why is difficult then to live in family? So family is so important, right? It's such a, a good environment for us to grow as people, and with that grow, morally to our society. But why is so difficult, right? um, we'll talk a little bit about that. So we'll start with marriage, and then we'll talk a little bit about the kids too. But why sometimes it's not so easy, right? For marriages, to work. Even when they work, they require so much work. And why? So we're going to go through some of the questions in the Spirit's book and some information so that we can see what is the Spiritist view of marriage, right? So Kardec asked the spirits in the question 695 from the Spirit's book: is marriage the permanent union of two individuals contrary to the law of nature? And the Spirit said that it represents progress in the evolution of humankind. So, what is the marriage in the Spiritist view? So, this is one of the explanations or the portraits of the marriage in the Spiritist view. But basically, it's the union of two spirits, of two souls, aiming what? The spiritual improvement of both, right? So that we come together as a pair for the improvement of both in the pair, right? Not just for one, but for both. Although they may be in different stages of evolution. So maybe that's where is the key, right? Different stages of evolution, right? So Joanna in this book, Family Constellation, she tells us that, it's like an alert, and this is really the view of Spiritism, right? That this family group, it's not a casual encounter of random souls. So God didn't go mini, miny, mo. Okay, Anna and Lucio, Veronica and Rodrigo. That's not how the pairing went, right? It is, like Joanna says here, rather an extensive planning that happens in the spiritual spheres before we incarnate, before the rebirth of those two souls, with mutual commitments, right? So, mutual commitments, meaning that we want the same thing, or we have the same agreement, we have, the same goals, and we are committing to those. But maybe them positive or negative. So wait a minute. So it can be the one is committed, the other one's not, or they are committed to different things, right? Or they are both committed, to good things, or one is to a good thing, the other one to more of in a negative sense, or both in the negative, right? But it is right for there is this extensive planning so that both of them can grow. It's for the necessary adjustment, right? So it's not planned to fail. It's not planned to hurt or to punish, but it's for the necessary adjustments and to ensue progress to occur, right? So even though if maybe in other lives this the reason that those people maybe they were estranged, so now they come together, right? So in a mutual commitment to overcome that. But maybe there was previous lives and one was did something that hurt the other, right? So then now they're coming together to repair that, right? Or both were bad to each other and now they're coming together to repair that. That's a better explanation than what I was talking about before. So souls with mutual commitments, may them be positive or negative for the necessary adjustment, right? So there is a chapter before where things maybe went great for both, or great for one, not so great for other, or bad for both of them, and now we're coming together. So Joanna says that the family, it's a permanent training camp where feelings and emotions are steered, ultimately renewing and guiding them towards the positive creation of a future projects, right? So here, of course, because there it's not a blank page, right? There are things that are gonna steer some feelings and emotions, these situation emotions of and activities of being together, right, closely in an intimate relationship will steer some emotions, but it's supposed to renew and guide us toward new positive projects, right? Not the old things we did, but new, a new outcome. Um, so, as a result, we do not live in the ideal family as we wish for. And the ideal meaning the idealized family, this romantic idea of family that maybe we were presented before, growing up with noble and wise spirits surrounding us. Instead, we come to a group in which our own evolutionary needs are addressed. So that is, one of the biggest points, right? Why we are grouped in families or in marriages, right, is because both of us need to grow, right? It's a commitment that we made in the spiritual realm, and but it's not because we are all angels coming together. No. And then if we think about that, then that makes sense why it's not so easy, right? Because if we were all perfect, right, that would be really um you know it would be really easy. Everybody's perfect. Everybody, nobody gets upset with the other, everybody shares, everybody supports each other, so nobody has bad days. So you know all the work is done, right? So Joanna in this book, she also makes like because she calls the family a family constellation, so she brings this idea of the planets around itself. So she says that there is perfect harmony among the stars due to cosmic laws. That is what maintains the harmony in the planets, right? In the galaxies and around themselves. So those are cosmic laws that keeps everything in equilibrium, everyone in their places. But she says, however, in the family, the force, right, that actually it's gonna make this harmony, it's the uh, ethical moral development of each being, right? So it's that constant um, change, or the constant uh, struggle between the one that I am versus the one that I wish to be, right? So talking about that, right? So, is there this concept of twin soul or my other half? Or like in the US, right? In English, usually they say, even in the South, we say a lot, your better half. So, talking about your husband, your spouse is like, oh, how is your better half doing? Right. So is that such a thing? Is there such a concept in Spiritism? And I'm sorry to tell you that the answer is no, right? So Kardec already asked about that, So in question 299, he asked the spirits, in what sense should we understand the term other half, which certain spirits use to designate sympathetic spirits? And the spirit they said that the expression is incorrect. If one spirit were another spirit's other half, it would be incomplete when separated from the other, right? So it's like a little bit of couples therapy, maybe here, right? Everyone in the couple, it's a whole spirit, right? You are enough. You are whole as one individual, then you just come together. So it's not that, the other person, it's like the half that is missing on you and is going to complete you in that sense. So that kind of can, just knowing this question 299, I think it can help a lot, right? It can avoid a lot of problems in marriages. The other one is this question 298, where Kardec asks, are souls who must get together predestined for such a union from their origin? And does each one of us have in some part of the universe our other half, whom we will someday inevitably join? And then the spirit said no. So you saw that Kardec asked twice. So he asked almost the same question in two different ways. And the answer was, the same in both. No, there's no particular and predestined union between two souls. Unity exists among all spirits, but in different degrees according to the order they occupy, according to that degree of purification. The greater their purification, the more united they are. All the ills of humankind are born from discord. Concord gives rise to complete happiness, right? So forget this thing about be dreaming and looking for your other half or better half that is out there. No. Remember, we're going to have here, the best companion for our, betterment, right? And that's why I brought also this part from this book called Studying Mediumship from Martin Sperava that talks about the types of marriage. So he describes them as 5 types. So accidental, so maybe there is just a random. So even though most of the marriages, and this coming together, it is planned. There are some that, sometimes it's not, there's no so much preparation before. And also the spirits, they are in that kind of marriage. It's not necessarily that they have a lot of pre-existent existences experiences, right? Maybe they are kind of, new to each other. There is the probationary, right? Or the testing kind of marriage. So in that one, both need to learn something from each other, so if that feels like, and this is very common in the world of trial and expirations that we are, so that can explain a lot why people can get on your nerves, and that's usually a better health, can get on your nerves like nobody else can. Right? There is the sacrificial marriages, is where one person will come, the evolution or the level of nobility of the spirits there in that marriage is very different. So one very elevated and one not so much, and that one very elevated comes in a sacrificial marriage to really help the other one and brings that one up. We talked about the get to know Spiritism that's going to start in the fall. And in that course, we read this book where there is a very good example, right, of this wife that is, so much more elevated in terms of soul, so much noble and pure than this other one. But she comes, and there are multiple ones, That's why sometimes some speakers in Spiritism say that, the women's are always more evolved than, it's usually a mother coming to a son, or, the wife is always the higher elevated spirit. I'm just joking, guys. But if you want to learn more, right, and just come in for the course. But yeah, there are some examples in the Spiritist literature of some sacrificial marriages there. Then sometimes, so the first one, the accidental, is kind of, common. The probationary, very, very common. Sacrificial, okay, but maybe less than probationary. And the affinity and transcendent, those are the most rare ones. And the affinity is like when two spirits, they have a very good affinity for each other, then they can come together usually to fulfill a task, or because they have a mission. And the transcendent, even more, higher, even more noble spirits that come together also. But you see, usually when they come together, it's not so that they can stay together, it's that together they can accomplish a bigger goal, right? Because they have so much affinity, or they are so much noble that they can kind of vibrate, and they can be on the same page for most things. No wasting any time in any quarrels or competitions or any problems, that sometimes we can face in some relationships. So Joanna tell us that even if it doesn't meet your expectations, since we encounter unfriendly members and previous lives' enemies in the form of our current relatives, the home nonetheless is the place for practicing the existential philosophy necessary for leading a balanced and harmonized life, right? So it's a big realization to think that in your own family, even in your marriage, it can be somebody who has not been your friend in a past life, right? But that is not supposed to make us fear other people or feel sad. No, it's feeling hopeful that now I have another opportunity, right, to repair this relationship. Because remember, if we are supposed to be this big single family, we have to restore each one of these relationships one by one, so that we can really say, okay, now we are from the same family, right? You are, part of my family, right? Now let's talk a little bit about the kids, right? They are also part of the family. And Joanna, in this one, she tries to mention to us that, she reminds us that in the animal kingdom, I think because, probably what comes along with being a parent sometimes is that you're a little tired, right? Because it demands a lot of work, right? It's a lot of growth too for you. You love that little one or little ones so much, right? It's an experience that you never thought you would, feel the way you feel once you're a parent. You worry about them. So it is constant work. And you might look at the animals and you're like, why can't they be just like a little elephant, right? They are born and they're already walking. They go their ways, right? Or, a little whale that it grow, you have birth, you nurse, maybe, I think they told me one time it was like around 1 year, and then they go their ways. And but I when I heard that story, I was really sad for the whale, because they are very, some of these species, they stay by themselves. But Joanna tells us that is different amongst humans, because the ties between parents and children never are broken. Even when the relationships are strained, they are simply postponed to another incarnation. And a new to a new opportunity where experiences are repeated until achievement of affectionate harmony and bond are reached. So remember, if we're here in a difficult relationship, we should feel more motivated to fix this one because we know maybe it's not the only one. But if we're getting more broken relationships, then we will have to repair that, right? So if it is time for us to repair, that's a good time. Hopefully we're not accumulating more strained relationships that you would have to face later in another opportunity, in another incarnation, in another birth, right? So this is also in the Spirit's book. So in question 773, Kardec asked, why is that um, among animals, parents of offsprings no longer recognize each other when the latter no longer need care, right? It's a different relationship. Um, and the Spirit said, animals live a material life, not a moral life. A mother's tenderness for her young has its principle, the instinct of preservation regarding the beings born to her. When these beings are able to take care of themselves, her task is fulfilled and nature requires no more of her. Thus, she abandoned them in order to occupy herself with newborns, right? So at that stage, they just worried about perpetuating the species. But, and so it's just survival, it's just physical life. But if you have to teach somebody and also most of the time learn with them something about a moral life, you need, right, more time. You need to stay together through different times, right, of the growth, not just okay, now you can eat by yourself, you can walk, so you go, right? Because the moral education, requires more time and it will be a little bit different in different stages, not just, as a child, but then teenagers, right? And then adulthood too. Sometimes my kids ask me questions, especially my daughter, and sometimes I tell her, whew, it was easy when you were 5 years old, right? I'll put you in my lap. The questions that you had, it was much easy to answer, and it was so easy to maybe comfort you, like give you a little cookie, sit with you, talk, embrace you, and sometimes I could maybe fix 99% of the things. But now as an adult, your challenges are, different, right? They're more complex because now you're a more complex being. You have more capabilities, right? So she always tells me the adulting is really hard, but she does it so well. But that's the thing, right? I can see that. But when they were young, I thought that was so hard. Now in retrospect, I'm like, oh, those were the easy times, because this education continues, right? It is at home that the affection is developed, respect for others' rights, awakening of one's own rights without extravagances or absurdities. So, if you're the daughter of a big athlete in your house, he's only dad, right? He's not that athlete. Then he might be that icon for others, right? Or maybe a pop star or actress or a scientist, maybe a Nobel Prize winner. But at home, they are just mom, dad, brother, sister, right? So there's no entitlement. Everybody kind of, it's leveled as somebody from the family. So it's important for us. So the home is where the members know each other. And when it's hard to mask our inner flaws, right? So that's why sometimes people so close to us, they can hurt us really bad because they know our, difficulties. They know our insecurities, right? They have been through so many experiences with us that they know us. So they know where to go to really, get us, upset or, worked out. They know how to say. And it's hard for us to really mask how we're saying, what we're feeling and everything for them, right? Sometimes it's easier to mask those things to people outside the family, but not the people for family. But she says, Joanna here, that these imperfections, they would be lapidated in the family through continuous friction, which ought not to lead to indifference, hate, jealousy, or revolt, right? So if, unfortunately, that's what the consequence, or the, maybe the situation in which the relationship with the family, is, now it became indifferent, or it has hate or jealousy or revolt involved in it. That's not what, it was intended to be. This friction, this coming together of different spirits, that's not what it was supposed to do. And but we know that even though every family has problems, that we know that in some places, in some families, the situation is, it's really, at an extreme, and we cannot forget about those things, right? That sometimes, and even in this message, in this chapter in the book, Joanna mentions that too, that when the family gets broken due to aggression, disrespect, or when it's weakened by its members' unconscious illusions, falling apart due to recklessness. She's, mentions that it's not just the family, but the society suffers a terrible blow too. That was not the plan, right? So, if in case this is the situation, of course, I hope if this is your situation and you're listening to this, you can find some help, and know that this is not really a problem of the family itself, right? It is more a problem of personal choices of people who are in the family. Like in this in this message, Joanna says that these individuals who are today aggressive or cynical in the home, they allow perverse warfare to flourish. They are sick in the soul and in need of guidance and ever more patience. But of course, once violence comes in, we need to protect, the family members too. So I'm almost done, and in this book, even as the title, Joanna talks about the family as a constellation, right? So she tells us that the family is like a constellation. In the constellation, you have bigger objects or bigger planets, small planets, or, stars, and, all these different um, uh, what we would say, yeah. So all these, she says here, objects, but you have all these really objects of planets and stars and all of these things, um, you know, in an orbit around, right? And usually the smallers are around the bigger ones. So you have stars, planets, satellites, asteroids. And she reminds us that the parents are like the largest stars, right? Pulling, in their gravitational force with their moral force, right? With their example. They pull their children close to them as planets, right? Just like if the planets kind of keep their satellites and their moons and stars around them, right? So the parents should create that um, affection, right? That love that should go and spread for the kids too, right? So the family is that spiritual nucleus that calls for understanding of relationships and will lead to successful future partnerships, right? So we are learning who we are and how to deal with other people in our family circle, right? And just to end, um, she reminds us that divine law states that only through love can the spirit find true fulfillment. This sentiment of love is developed in the family experience, and its many facets of abnegation, affection, kindness, and tenderness. With this training in the home, the spirit becomes capable of loving with greater magnitude and depth, reaching out to society, the spirit's universal family. And my last slide just really try to remind you, right, that family is important to society. It might not be perfect, it might not be the one that you idealized, but a lot of planning in most of the cases um, came into the formation of this group of people, right? This special group of people that forms your family. And the reason for this group to come about was not to hurt you or hurt anybody or to punish anybody, but it was actually to repair relationships, but also to make you grow, right? To really give you the best environment where you can grow as a spirit. So if we didn't have the family ties in society, then the society would lapse into selfishness. So really the problems with families are not problems with the family itself, but just individual choices that people make within the family unit, right? So I hope that, God may bless your family, that, parents are strengthened to fulfill this beautiful mission of parenthood, that they can have help from aunts, uncles, grandparents, why not even, neighbors. It takes a village, right? To really grow our society. And that the kids too, they be able to grow and think and be in this path of goodness, that they do not get so distracted. It's so hard in this society that we live. May they hear more about this, that they are spirits, right? And not about all these material things that are pushed through them all this time. And I do thank you all for listening. And if you all have any questions, and sorry, I think I went a little bit over time.
Hi, Anna. Thank you so much for your bringing this topic today and for all your reflections. It may be, at least for me, it was very enlightening. And it's such an important topic, right? Like you were saying, it takes a village. And I feel like this understanding that if we are here now, like we are a sum of a lot of people that came before us, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I heard once that if I'm not mistaken, it's around like 400 people, like in terms of generations, right? So if you think that who you are today, or like where you are today, like it's because, let's say, 400 people decided, right, like to join.
Right.
So it's very it's a way for us to see our life as an opportunity. And of course, Spiritism brings us this knowledge of reincarnation, and that is definitely an opportunity to repair and to learn, right? So,
Right. Mm-hmm.
and we do have some questions. So let me just bring some
Let's
here.
try.
Okay, so the first one is from our friend Rodrigo Farias, and he asks, can we expand this concept of family to wider circles, such as work or church?
Definitely, and I mean, I consider all of you my spiritual family too, right? We come together, we work, and we feel like we know each other. We have, these relationships. And, Yeah, and this question is great because it reminds us of this big point, right? That the more that we have, that we can let go of these things. Oh, I am this family, so Oliveiras don't mix with Farias or what, but
Mhm.
that we are all part of the big family of humanity, then it's easier for us to help each other, right? For us to, not to be so isolated.
Mhm.
So yeah, the goal is really for more and more we include other people in our family and think about wider circles. So why not your family, then maybe your work, then your city, why not your country, and the whole humanity one day.
Mhm. Um, Let me just find the other. The second one is actually kind of like what you are already saying. It's from Publio, and he's asking:
Mhm.
is the humankind one day consider be a real big family? So I feel
Mhm.
like it's kind of what you were saying about
Right,
looking like the future would be we having an universal family, right?
right, right. But sometimes we see how can you know we need to work a little bit
Mm-hmm,
before we can even imagine this idea, because if we sometimes we're competing inside of one family, and sometimes it's hard to accept the other one that is so close, that has blood ties, or it's so proximity as an equal to us, and accept them as they are with the
mm-hmm,
differences and everything. Can you imagine, because even though usually families, they have things in common, right? So maybe they will speak the same language, they will have the same customs. And if you see with all these coincidences or all this the same that you have, it's hard sometimes to get
mm-hmm.
along. Imagine if you go and the other person, like you drink coffee, they drink tea, and or whatever
Yeah.
it might be. You
Mm-hmm,
love heat, summer, and they love winter or something. So that's why the family is important. It starts like, can you learn in this small circle? If
mm-hmm.
you can, then let's go ahead and expand. And that's nice because then the work is never done, right? So
Yeah.
if you are in a great family, you're blessed with harmony, then let's expand this a little bit now. And let's see, can you bring other people and consider them, right,
Mm-hmm,
as part of your family too?
mm-hmm. That's nice. One last question from our friend Marcela Tuller. And she's asking, marrying a former enemy, would that explain why there are so many abusive and violent marriages?
Yeah. So, you know, I don't know if it's specifically because you was your enemy that people, maybe they would do, they would maybe do commit acts of violence if because they were your enemy, or maybe anybody who was in that place, maybe can be the receiver of that aggression.
Mm-hmm,
So I think it explains more that sometimes we know it's really hard, to be with that person, to like really love the way they are. I think the because also I would like for us to also remember that it's not in the plan that I will be coming with an abusive person so they can hurt me and I can
mm-hmm.
suffer that. That is
Yep.
never in God's plan. That is a choice that that person makes, right? God does not waste a incarnation for you to kill other people or to start wars or for you to, to beat other people up. That's not what it is. We have to remember the law is of justice, but is mercy and love. So,
Mm-hmm,
so that would never be in the plan. So when that happens, is really because something is not going as planned, but because we have our own free will, right? And then, even though I'm gonna be coming with this person, but and it can be abusive, like I said, even verbal, right? And it can
yep.
be even if the person doesn't have the physicality, sometimes to commit violence, then they can kind of hurt. So, I think that's a sad thing. It's something that we need to address. Of course, we need to look for help, right? And in every place there are authorities and there's help that can help. Um, that should not be it is against the law, so it's a crime, so it should be dealt with appropriately. But it's not that oh, it's happening because God wants, that was the plan. I'll be here receiving violence. God does never would plan, right? It would be a waste of an
Mm-hmm.
incarnation for you to
Yeah.
come instead of progressing, for
Mm-hmm.
you to do bad things. But it happens
Mm-hmm.
because it's our choice, right?
Yes.
But we know that every single act that we do will see the consequences, because the law also is of cause and consequence, right?
Mm-hmm.
So whatever we do, we have to repair. So you can imagine if in a marriage you were supposed to actually have a good relationship with that person, but then you physically abuse them, so you actually are totally against what
Mm-hmm.
the plan would be, for those two.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's such a good point, Anna. And so I just want to thank you for being here with us today, for all your reflections and all those good points that you brought to us. And I hope everyone enjoyed the talk today.
all right, we'll see you next week on the other side of the screen.
Thank you so
God
much.
bless
Have a good night.
everyone.
Okay, so thank you for your participation in the chat. And we will now move to the preparation for tonight's spiritual treatment. So, what is spiritual treatment? PASS is a transfusion of spiritual energy with the goal of assisting with our physical, emotional, and mental balance. PASSes help us to restore a state of harmony and peace by replacing negative energy with healthy and positive energy. In order to receive the best benefits from PASSes, please follow the audio instructions or remain in prayer. You may close your eyes to help with mentalization. And during the pass, the water that you set aside will also absorb the spiritual energy that your family and you can benefit from. We will now make a prayer in preparation for the pass, which will also be our closing prayer. So I would like to ask you to join me in this closing prayer. So let's close our eyes. Let's elevate our thoughts to our Master Jesus and to the friendly spirits that are here with us tonight. Master Jesus, we would like to thank you for one more opportunity to learn about this important topic that is family, that is the God's plan for humanity. And we were able to learn a little bit more on the Spiritist view on family. So we want to thank you for all these learnings. May we be able to look to our family members in a different way, seeking to love more, seeking to restore bonds that maybe we ended up closing, or we ended up uh, making it weak because of um, our own selfishness. May we be able to help our families, help all the people that are surrounding us, even in our workplace or our religious group, our friends. May we be able to see all those people surrounding us as our family, so we can grow together and we can evolve. We also would like to put in your hands today all the people that are currently in our prayer book, incarnate or discarnate. May each one of them receive your love and your peace vibrations in their hearts, assisting them in whatever is their need right now. May we also be able to receive all the benefits from the spiritual treatment that will start soon. And we ask your protection for the week ahead, trusting that you will stay with us today and always. So be it.
Let us now prepare ourselves for the moment of the passes and the magnetization of water. Let's now calm our hearts, breathing in and out. Pay attention to your body. Focus on your breath and let yourself be carried by this energy. Let your thoughts pass by without judging them. Let them flow. Allow this light to be the beacon that guides you, and allow these words to penetrate your energy. Make each word an anchor of gratitude, faith, and trust. With the purpose of healing, which takes away my faith, healing every feeling of separation, of pain, let it all dissolve in this moment, leaving only love, gratitude, and trust. We ask God for the presence of our guardian angel and the friendly spirits who welcome us into this enlightened environment of our Spiritist Center. We open our plexus of love and forgiveness by mentalizing a light surrounding our hearts. Find a quiet and comfortable place to begin the mentalization process. Remove all worries from your thoughts. We ask that during the pass you breathe slowly and deeply. Let your body relax and surrender yourself to a deep meditation. Calmly imagine divine energies in soft and colorful light surrounding you in an environment of peace and spiritual warmth. Entrusting God with your most intimate desires, raise your thoughts to Jesus and the emissaries of the spiritual environment. The pass begins with the cleansing of your soul. Imagine a waterfall of crystal clear water pouring over us, removing all the feelings that keep you away from faith and trust. Feel the energy of this water bathing you and deeply breathe in, feeling peace and harmony. Allow this water to wash away all the impurities and spiritual larvae, washing away all the sorrows and resentments, any feelings of hatred and revenge that hold us back and cause us harm, not only from this life, but past ones as well. Now visualize spiritual doctors around you, applying magnetic cleansing passes, sanitizing your spiritual body of all sadness and negative energy. Mentalize these negative thoughts and feelings being washed away, evaporating from your soul, like water evaporating into thin air, and being carried far away from your mind. Surround yourself with the faith that bathes your being, bringing clarity and lucidity, rebalancing every cell in your body. May the water envelop all pain and bring the clarity of opportunity that chooses peace. The answer arises in our hearts, freeing us from all evil and freeing all whom we have caused evil into and who have caused us evil. Washing away all the connections that bind us. Even though we may not understand, we are freeing ourselves from all that causes us harm. Feel this cleansing penetrate your soul and release. Now that we are spiritually cleansed, imagine yourself surrounded by the light of love from the hands of Jesus. At this moment, sing words of faith and gratitude, being faithful to the light that exists in me, planted by the zealous Father. Imagine the sunlight that surrounds and enraptures, freeing us from the chains of everything that holds us down, strengthening your faith. Allow yourself to trust in this light, surrender to it, involved in pleasant feelings and feeling relieved to receive the strengthening lights. Mentalize your spiritual mentors now applying divine light for the strengthening of your mind and your emotions, leaving you feeling emotionally revitalized. Let us now mentalize the magnetization of this water. May we mentalize all the friendly spirits, magnetizing this water and filling it with everything that our bodies, minds, and soul need, so that it may be of help to us when we drink it after the Pass. Thank you, God.
Thank you for joining us tonight. We will be back next Tuesday here on Spiritism Canada and Continental Concafos Americas at 8:30 p.m. East, and next Wednesday on Kardec Radio at 8 p.m. East. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube from Spiritism Canada and Spiritist Group Paths of Light. Have a good night.
Crystal eyes, colors of the sky, gray bushy beard, Santa's look alike, shine on your brothers on earth, suffering, living joy, or in pain. Crystal eyes, colors of the sky, gray bushy beard, Santa look alike, shine on your brothers on earth, suffering, living joy, or in pain. Bezerra de Menezes, Apostle of the good, receive our prayers and also our heart. Bezerra de Menezes, Apostle of the light, place our pain